Hey there clan, and welcome to Worth It or Not Reviews, where I'm going to answer the simple question: is Batman Arkham Knight, the final game in the Arkham trilogy, worth it or not? Is it worth your money? Is it worth the effort? But more importantly, is it worth your time? Cue the intro, and after that we'll figure it out. So, let's do a little recap. Now, firstly, this is probably going to be a relatively short one. Relatively short meaning maybe 10 minutes at most, maybe a little bit more than that, due to the fact that I can't really talk too much about the story in this review, due to the fact that I would spoil too much if I talked about even a fraction of the story. So, just a little heads up on that. But firstly, let me explain. How long have I been playing the Arkham series? I have all three Arkham games. I have Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, and now Arkham Knight. You'll notice these two are on Xbox 360, this one's on PS4. I didn't complete the green trilogy, sadly, because I refused to buy an Xbox One. Might change this year. But I got this. Arkham Asylum was a game I got when my first Xbox broke. This was the first game I got for my second Xbox 360. And I absolutely loved it. I love the Batman character. Batman is one of my favourite DC characters ever since I watched this. Sorry, it's a bit dusty. It's been sitting there for a while. The Batman animated series. I love this series. I love the character of Batman. This is probably one of my favourite portrayals of Batman, voiced by Kevin Conroy, and also my favourite portrayal of the Joker, voiced by Mark Hamill, of course. Now, let me just state this off the bat. I was very impressed with Arkham Asylum. I love Arkham Asylum. I love Arkham City. And also the fact that they got Kevin Conroy just made it that much better. Now, the question I'm going to get asked is, what is my favourite of the three of the trilogy? I'm not going to answer that in this video. I am going to answer it in a spoiler-related video that I'm going to be doing with a friend of mine. But let's just say I enjoy all three of these games as a whole. So yeah, I loved Arkham Asylum. I actually really liked Arkham City. Arkham City is one of my favourite games of all time. I do think, some people say Arkham Asylum is better than Arkham City. I actually kind of disagree and say that Arkham City is just a little bit better than Arkham Asylum. But at the same time, I still love both the games and happily replayed these before I actually played Batman Arkham Knight. But we're talking Arkham Knight here. So, let's talk Arkham Knight here, and let's talk about the few main elements of the game in which I determine is it worth it or not, really. Firstly, the story. Now, without going into too many spoilers, I enjoyed the story of this. There are certain points of the story that I do not like. If you don't know the premise of the story, the character of Scarecrow, who we haven't seen since Arkham Asylum, the last thing we saw of him, he got kinda eaten by Killer Croc. Turns out he didn't get eaten, he merely got horribly disfigured, and now his... the absolute moral look he has now, which is incredibly creepy, and he looks like a proper Scarecrow now. Even I'll admit he is terrifying to look at. It's basically held the city hostage and said he's going to release a fear toxin, a new and improved fear toxin. This one is very potent and also very deadly. Even a small fraction of it, which we see in the game's opening, is extremely dangerous. It is probably Scarecrow's most intense fear toxin ever. He is the master of fear, after all. And the whole plot of the main story is to stop Scarecrow, but Scarecrow has reinforcements. He has the help of a mysterious figure known as the Arkham Knight, and an entire army. Yep, an entire army along with the thugs. And now you do interact. Now they are the two main villains, Arkham Knight and Scarecrow. You do interact with the other Batman villains. They all have their own little unique story to them. You have Two-Face, Penguin, and Riddler are the primary ones. You also have characters from the Arkham Origin games, which I can't say which ones are there without spoiling anything, I'm afraid. But we also have Man-Bat in this game, that was a complete out of left field. There aren't as many Batman villains in this game as there are other ones. We do have a couple of lesser known ones. We don't see the Ventriloquist, unfortunately, which is rather disappointing if you ask me. There are a couple of villains I would have liked to see, but we don't see them, unfortunately, which is a bit disappointing, honestly. But the primary focus is Scarecrow and the Arkham Knight. There is also a prequel DLC that I got, which was the Harley Quinn DLC. I didn't get the Red Hood one, sadly, but I actually really enjoyed the Harley Quinn DLC. It's relatively short, it's a prequel, it's fun, it's enjoyable, Tara Strong is awesome. Simple as. But I can't really talk too much about the story, but I will say that overall the story is enjoyable. It definitely is a decent, is a good story. In my opinion, it's not as good as Arkham City, and honestly. I think City's story is just a bit more stronger. Now, when it comes to the character of Batman, this is the final game, the Arkham game. They've made it quite clear this is the final Arkham game that Rocksteady will be working on. At least that's what we know of at this time. Now, overall, the arc of the story is good. Without going into too many spoilers, Batman goes through hell in this game. Even more so in Arkham City, if it's hard to believe. But I can't say why without spoiling the game. But I absolutely did enjoy the story as it went on. Also, we got to see one of my all-time favourite characters in the Arkhamverse, who has been in all the Arkham games, but this is her first ever physical appearance in the game, and that is Barbara Gordon, aka Oracle. Now, how big of a fan of Oracle am I? Or Barbara Gordon? Well, I have the entire Gail Simone run of Batgirl, which in my opinion is the definitive version of Batgirl from Volume 1 to Volume 5, I believe it is. This is my favourite Batgirl. Batgirl is one of my favourite characters. Barbara Gordon in general is one of my favourite characters of all time. She's easily in my top 5 favourite female characters, and honestly in my top 5 favourite characters, just because of the shit she has gone through. This is the new 52, by the way. This Batgirl, written by Gail Simone. I haven't read the new one after she left, but Gail Simone's Batgirl is amazing. I absolutely highly, highly recommend, if you're a fan of Barbara Gordon, to pick these up. Start with Volume 1 and go from there. I also have the, Gail Simone wrote one more Batgirl story, but it's in one of my drawers somewhere. Well, actually, she wrote 2 technically, but she wrote one more Batgirl story, and it features Batgirl in an alternative reality where she becomes a bit more crazy, but at the same time, it also made me cry. I will not lie. First comic book to ever do that. No, but Gail Simone has run other characters, but she is also one of my other favourite written versions of Batgirl, is this one, which is Convergence, Nightwing and Oracle. I love this miniseries. Only 2 issues, but I love it. I'll get to that in a moment. I actually have something to say about this in a minute. But yeah, we get to see Oracle in this game, which made me squeal like a freaking schoolgirl. Let's just say, without getting into spoilers, there wasn't enough Oracle. I'll say that much. I can't say anything without spoilers, but let's just say we don't see enough of Oracle, in my opinion. I understand what happened to her. I won't say what it was, but that one part of the story kind of nerked me a little bit, and that is one of the negatives of the story. For those who are unaware of Batgirl's history, I'll give a quick brief history about Barbara Gordon of why she's in the wheelchair. She's in the wheelchair because the Joker shot her in the back with a gun and paralysed her from the waist down. That didn't stop her from being a badass, though, because even though she's paralysed, she still became Oracle, became one of the smartest characters in the DC Universe. Oh, and also went toe-to-toe with Hawkgirl in her wheelchair. I'm not kidding. She went toe-to-toe with Hawkgirl in this comic. In a wheelchair. With, I can't remember the concept, the Cali sticks? She whooped Hawkgirl's ass. That is why I love Oracle. That is why I love Batgirl. And that is why I love Barbara Gordon. She is easily one of my favourite characters of all time. And they even make a note in the game, in her little index, that she is still a master of martial artist, even in a wheelchair, with Cali sticks and batarangs. She can probably throw batarangs better than Batman, in all honesty. That's beside the point. I don't know why I'm going a little rant here. I'm going to save that for my story spoiler thing. But yeah, we didn't get enough Oracle. I wanted more Oracle. And hopefully that Batgirl DLC that we'll get in the future will satiate my hunger. Now, another aspect of the story that I wasn't too keen on was the Arkham Knight himself. I'm going to say this right now, without spoiling, without saying who he is. I guessed who he was like that. The moment I heard his voice, I guessed who it was. Like, we've never really heard his voice in the trailers, and even in the comic books you don't hear it. But the moment he said a freaking sentence, I was like, I know who that is. It took me less than a sentence to guess who he was, and it turns out I was right. It was a bit disappointing. I'm kind of disappointed they went that route. I understand why they went that route, but if you didn't figure it by the time he was by the first sentence, you'll figure it out by about the halfway mark, in all honesty, or the first time he mentions something. I'll say that much without going into spoilers, but the Arkham Knight's identity is not a secret. You can, if you know anything about the Batman history, you will figure it out by the time it takes you to click your fingers. I was a bit disappointed with that, but even then, I still felt as the Arkham Knight was a threat to Batman. I still felt as though he was that. He was still a threat, the same with Scarecrow, same with Two-Face, same with Penguin, and same with Riddler. I actually felt, though, the Arkham Knight was still a threat, and I did enjoy his little arc that he had, even though his identity was easy to figure out. I'll say that much. Now, I can't talk anything else about the story without going into spoilers, so the story overall is a net positive. I enjoyed it, I had fun with it, and it is, in my opinion, at least a decent conclusion to the Arkham series. That is all I've got to say on that. Now, move on to gameplay. Firstly, the combat is fantastic. They've improved the combat. It's much more better. You can now use melee weapons, mostly bats and throwing objects. They've added new gadgets like a voice recognition, a voice synthesizer of some sort. But they've added a few new gadgets which are very interesting. You definitely have to learn to play with them. A lot of the old favourites return, it's no secret there. But I definitely feel as though the combat is improved. I definitely like that. The stealth combat is still as good. The Predator one, the new gadgets add to it, in all honesty. But the primarily new feature of the game is, of course, two new features, in my opinion. And that is the dual combat. Now, you don't get to do it too often in the main story. You do it mostly in the side stuff with Catwoman, Robin, and Nightwing. Those are the three characters you do the dual combat with, which I felt was actually quite well implemented. While you're in the combat with them, you just press the left button, or the right bumper, I'm assuming, L1 or the right bumper, and you swap between the characters, and you'll play as Nightwing, Robin, and of course Catwoman. And each one plays differently. You have to adapt to it, and you have to do it. You also can play as Batman, and then you'll do, if you build up a little meter and all, you do special dual takedowns, which are actually really freaking awesome. I actually really like that combat. I felt as though they could have done a bit more with it and added maybe a little bit more of it. Maybe you could call in an ally for certain missions and all that. Batman is, of course, Batman. He doesn't need allies according to him. But I definitely liked the dual combat, and I actually thought they did a really good job of adding it into the game. I just wish we had more of it. They balanced it very well, and in all honesty, I liked playing as the other characters. Catwoman is much more faster. Nightwing's a bit more agile. Robin might not be as agile as Nightwing or Batman, but he definitely is a bit more agile. He's more agile than Batman, definitely, sorry. But he definitely is a bit more fast-paced now. Each of the characters plays differently enough that you'll want to give at least them a try. I kind of wish we could maybe swap out to the characters, but I understand why they couldn't do that. But either way, I did enjoy playing as the other characters, and that combat is fine. Now we move on to the big new feature of the game, which is the Batmobile. Now, if you follow me on Twitter, you already know this, at ScottWA2. But I was not too keen on the Batmobile at first. It took a lot of time to get used to. It basically took about half the game for me to actually get used to the control scheme. I also had the Adam West Batman skin on, which was awesome. So I had my Batmobile look like the 1966 Batmobile. Only skinned-wise, it still was a tank. But yeah, it was alright. The Batmobile, it takes a while to get used to, I will not lie. It took me, as I say, about half the game to eventually get used to it. The most it's used is, of course, in the Riddler stuff. The Riddler's challenges, the races, which I absolutely hated. I do not like the races in this game. They just drove me absolutely bonkers. Especially with how they were. They didn't think that through, in all honesty. But the Batmobile, after about half the game, I actually started to like it. I actually started to like driving about in the Batmobile, taking out bad guys with the non-lethal projectiles, which, by the way, they freaking know why they're non-lethal, in my opinion. But yeah, I actually really enjoyed the Batmobile after about halfway through the game. It ended up being a really enjoyable thing to deal with. You do one or two boss fights with it, which were fine. They were enjoyable. But I feel as though the Batmobile, it just takes too long to get used to, in my opinion. It definitely was one of my least favourite features. But after a while, I did see the purpose of it, and I did actually start to enjoy it a little bit. It was kind of fun, and I definitely liked it. Now, a lot of people are still a bit nerked the fact that Batman has a code. If you don't know Batman's code, he doesn't use guns. While in Arkham Knight, he does use guns. Only against the drones, the non-man drones in the game. He used non-lethal projectiles against enemies, which are just rubber bullets, which apparently hit like a gorilla. I don't know how that guy knew that. But yeah, they basically fire. He uses basically a 60 millimeter Vulcan cannon and basically a minigun on his Batmobile. There's a reason why he does that, and I can't say without spoiling the story. But let's just say, once you understand the story and what's happening to him, you understand why that kind of shifted a little bit. I won't say why, but I understand why he used it in the end, in all honesty. But the Batmobile overall was enjoyable to an extent, but it took too long to get used to. And I end up just traveling most of the time, just gliding, in all honesty. But, yeah, to use it for a lot of the Riddler stuff, which is fine. They wanted to add the Batmobile, I'm fine with that. So, yeah, overall gameplay is still as good as that as is the Batmobile, which takes too long to get used to. I still enjoyed the gameplay. It's absolutely outstanding. To an extent, of course, the Batmobile not included. Now, graphics-wise, the game looks beautiful. It still looks absolutely gorgeous. It does look better than Arkham City. It looks much more darker, more Batman-y, if you get what I mean, more noir in a way. It's always raining. Batman's new armor looks really cool. It's sort of like a new mechanical armor, which increases his strength a little bit. It looks like they took a little bit of the inspiration from of course, the Dark Knight comic book, which I still haven't read. I don't know the armor, and only just like shrunk it down a bit, made it a bit more of a flexible metal armor, and it looked really cool. And also Batman's new like a hollow watch on his arm, which is pretty freaking awesome. It looked awesome. The armor looked really, really well. I played through about half the game with one of my skins on, which was the Justice League 3000 skin, which looked really cool in my opinion. I also had the Adam West one, but I didn't really like that in all honesty. But I ended up switching back to the main skin for the overall story, and it looks really cool. I actually do like the armor, and it actually looks pretty freaking cool. Also, Oracle and all the character models look absolutely brilliant, and Scarecrow is, of course, terrifying. But graphics-wise, the game definitely looks better than Arkham City. It's not the most beautiful game I've ever seen, but it still looked absolutely beautiful, and I actually really, really did enjoy it. So, I don't think I have much else to say without spoiling anything. Is Batman Arkham Knight worth it? Well, if you've played the other two Arkham games, of course, Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, then yes, it's freaking worth it. It's still enjoyable. It's still fun. It still feels like a Batman game. It still feels like an Arkham game compared to Origins, which we don't talk about. I still will say that Arkham Knight is worth it. It is worth picking up if you haven't already. It's enjoyable, it's fun, it still makes you feel like Batman. Now for me personally, I do feel as though I got my money's worth out of it. And it says, even with the little nerks and little problems I had with the story in certain aspects, which I do not want to spoil for anyone, I still enjoyed the story, and I felt as though it did wrap everything up in a nice little bow to an extent. They are teasing towards something, I do know that. I don't know what it is, but let's just say after the ending, I wouldn't be surprised if this was not the last time that we ever visited the DC universe with Rocksteady. I do feel as though Rocksteady do want to do more in the DC universe other than just Batman, because even throughout the game, characters will reference other DC characters like Black Canary, even Superman doesn't get name dropped, but he gets mentioned quite a bit in this game, in all honesty, and I'm surprised he didn't show up. But there are a couple of very heavy hints towards other DC characters in this game, which I absolutely loved, especially if you're a nerd like me. But I definitely enjoyed the game. I had fun with it. It definitely is a nice little final game, and it is, in the trilogy, it's probably the weakest, but I still say it's worth it in my opinion. All three of these games are absolutely phenomenal. They are the best Batman games ever. I absolutely love them. And of course, there's a reason it's an 18, I'll say that much. But I would highly, highly recommend, if you haven't picked up Arkham Knight already, to pick it up and make your own judgment, of course. It's already sold quite a lot. Just don't pick it up on PC if you can. Just don't right now. But I enjoyed it. I had an absolute blast with it. I had problems with it. I will not lie. I had some problems with it. But overall, the positives outweighed the negatives. And I definitely really, really enjoyed it. And would recommend, if you're an Arkham fan, to pick it up if you haven't already. Now, I didn't get anything special with this, unfortunately. But I do want to show something I got off with Arkham Asylum. This was something I got with Arkham Asylum. It's been in... Actually, I already hung it up somewhere and I can't remember what it is. It's a Joker poster and I can't remember what it is. Oh well, I can't show you. I'll just have to show you another time. But yeah, so the Arkham series is complete. Arkham Asylum, Arkham City, and finally, Arkham Knight. Thank you, Rocksteady, for giving us 3 amazing Batman games. And I cannot wait to see what you do next. Whatever it is. If it's another Batman game, I would not say no to that. Although I kind of would like a Batgirl game, if that's okay. A full Batgirl game, not just a DLC. Is it? Like, come on, a Batgirl game, please. Or even a Batwoman game. I'd be okay with that. Use a Batwoman game. Like, after the events of Arkham Knight, you could bring back Batgirl, please. Like, I will throw money at you. I don't have any money on me right now, but I will throw money at you. Please, a Batgirl game. She deserves to stand out. Give me a goddamn Batgirl game. Breathe. Written by Gail Simone, by the way. But yeah, I think Batman Arkham Knight is worth it. I definitely would recommend it if you've played the other Arkham games. But in my opinion, to get the full experience, if you've never played any of the Arkham games, start with Arkham Asylum. This gives you the greatest introduction ever. And then if you like Arkham Asylum, go to Arkham City and then Arkham Knight. If you haven't picked these 2 up already, do so. Play the Arkham trilogy in order and you'll get the full experience. Because as someone who's played from Arkham Asylum to Arkham Knight, I got more out of this game than I would have if I had only played this. Because guess what? Continuity matters. So yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you've beaten Batman Arkham Knight, please, if you're going to talk spoilers, use spoiler tags. Big, bold letters. Spoiler. Use that. And let me know what you thought about the game. Did you enjoy it? What was your favourite parts of it? What was your least favourite parts of it? And if you haven't already, feel free to click that subscribe button because Batman tells you to. Isn't that right, Batman? He said yes. Other than that, I thank you for watching. As always, I'm Scottish Warren 92. And thank you, Rocksteady, once again, for this amazing trilogy. I'll see you all next time. Ciao for now.